Hey everybody, it's Thomas. It's time to talk about some Blood Bowl. In particular, we're going to be talking about this week in the Blood Bowl League of Blood Bowl. We'll start things off like we did in the weeks before. We're going to do a little bit of team management here. I've got 80,000. We'll talk about how I got that in a little bit. But I think that means it's time to buy another Pestiger to fill this huge gaping hole in my roster, which will be a factor in this week's discussion. So obviously we're going to buy another Pestiger. Can't buy anything else. Let's get some player details here. Alright, already looks the same as the other ones. And Ace Matique. Ah, can't believe that fit. Alright, cool. Buy. So up to 3 or 4 Pestigers, which is great. Gives us a lot more mobility, gives us a lot more ball handling, gives us a lot more blitzing. One of these guys I got to transition into becoming a safety Pestiger, one that can really get the ball out of the other team's hands and hopefully into my greedy claws. Probably I'm going to, I don't know, we'll see. I might save up for another reroll at this point. We'll see how the weeks go. At this point it might just be better to get another Pestiger. I don't know. We'll play around with it and try to see. I'd like to be able to fill this out a little bit so I'm not completely out of it if I get an injury. But let's take a look at the match record chart. You can see how we did. I won. Not a whole lot of suspense there. Sorry about that, but it was kind of inevitable, honestly. My game will be posted. There'll be a link over here you can take a look at. Basically, it kind of came down to a number of things, but if I had to really put it to something, I would say the thing that won it for me was some early plays resulting in me kind of snowballing to great success. So Chris basically got his assassin killed early. He positioned a teeny bit better, maybe to avoid some of that, but the end of the story is I killed him on, or I didn't kill him, I injured him on turn 1. At that point, he was still driving. I managed to interrupt his drive, get the ball out. I missed a pass and luckily got a warrior to catch the ball, which resulted in me being able to score. And then kickoff was to me, where I scored again on turn 10. And then I did the Nurgle thing of just completely tying up Chris's team, made him unable to do much of anything. So you can kind of see, because Chris was dodging more, I hit him down more. 3 casualties for me. A little bit of running, a little bit of passing. A little passing for both of us. But yeah, I only had a couple KOs. Nothing really too drastic. I won 60,000, which combined with the terrible roll I had from last week resulted in me having the 80,000 to buy the Pestiger. If we go and take a look at Chris's team, which was not quite set up for here, but if we take a look at Chris's team, let's go to the calendar view. We look at Chris's team. You can see my handiwork here. 2 injuries, which will cause him to get 2 linemen, which is not the end of the world since they were already linemen, although it's going to be a little annoying for him to have his block lineman out with a smashed knee, which is just a niggling injury, which makes it more likely that this lineman is going to be knocked out in the future. This is not a permanent injury, it's just a broken neck or broken ribs or something like that. So not the end of the world. He's got 90,000. He could do a lot of things. I don't know if he wants to save up for a Witch Elf or if he's going to buy... I think he can still get a Blitzer, if I'm not mistaken. Because I think you get 4 of those. So you could buy another Blitzer, which would help make his line more defensible. We'll see what he does with that in the review for next week. Walked away with 40,000, so didn't do too bad. All things considered, could have done a lot worse. Could have ended up with 20,000, so good for him. Yeah, not too much to talk about. Didn't get a ton of SPP because I hit him a lot, and he didn't really get anything done. He got a pass off on someone, and I honestly don't remember who passed. I guess this guy got the pass, given that he's got the 1 SPP. But, yeah. His team value took a little bit of a dive, but, I mean, that's how it goes. So he'll have a little bit of wiggle room going into next week, see if he picks up anything to fill out his roster, or if he just tries to go for the low team value to even things out. So that was that game, me versus Chris. The next match we're going to talk about is the humans versus the... Nope, that's not the right week. Humans versus the Chaos team. We'll start with the winner, which as you can see is Mark. Mark got 60,000 for this win, and if you look at these statistics, they kind of speak for themselves for how things went for Mark. He suffered 3 casualties, 2 KOs, got tackled a couple times trying to dodge out, but because he ran and passed the ball a bunch, got his touchdowns. Basically, Mark received the ball first, got an early run-in, and then Chaos went to town, both during the run-in and during everything else. Chaos had a little bit of benefit from the lower team value, resulting in them getting 2 rerolls, which undoubtedly helped throughout the game. But basically, Chaos just was able to punch a lot and was then able to walk the ball in. Didn't look good for Mark at that point. It was turn 15, looking at a tie game, not so great. However, a kickoff event turned the clock back, which evened out the game since the initial kickoff event had extended the turntable forward. Let's get rid of that. It extended the turntable forward, and so basically ended up being the same number of turns for the game, but that turn clock moving back gave Mark the extra turn in order to get a score in on turn 16. He made 3 very lucky dodges in order to make that touchdown happen, but it did, so Mark is the winner for this matchup. We'll say that the Chaos team's Minotaur put in a lot of work, both in zoning, knocking people down, and just being an overall monstrosity. So let's take a look at Mark's team roster. Moving forward, you can see the product of these injuries: 2 missed next games on a blitzer and a lineman. Lineman, obviously, whatever. The blitzer is a little bit more of a problem for him, but he still has some pretty quality guys, and that he's still got 2 leveled up blitzers to work with. And his Ogre managed to get the MVP award, so he's going to be in a much better position to level up as well. Catchers getting some touchdowns there, getting the sidestep here, which I think he had before. No, we get buzzed about this lately. So sidestep is definitely going to help this catcher stay alive, which is going to be really good for Mark. Also help him position better so he doesn't get punched out of cages and things like that. It's just a great pickup on the catcher. I think it's a good call for sure. And obviously the Ogre will be very scary if he can get an injury next turn, or if he gets more MVP points. It'll be it'll be a very scary thing. Well, not scary for Mark, scary for everyone else. If we take a look at the Chaos team, where are we here? Chaos team walked away with 30,000. It's not the best, but could be a lot worse. Leaves him with 70,000 total. Not sure what he'll pick up here. I believe he's got a full complement of Chaos Warriors at this point. So yeah, he's got the 4. So I'm not sure if there's anything else he really needs to do. Saving up for a reroll, probably not a bad call. Although at this point, we're almost halfway through the league. Maybe it's better to just go and bank on the inducements. But I think the safer thing would be to save up for more rerolls at this point. Team's in pretty good shape overall. His Minotaur leveled up thanks to an injury and getting the MVP award, which gave the Minotaur Juggernaut a great pickup. Makes the Minotaur even scarier than he was before. Basically, dealing with the Minotaur is going to require punching through that 8 armor value, or just hoping you can stay out of reach of him. This is something that the Amazon team, Chris's team, and in some ways the Lizardman team is going to be able to do better. Just able to avoid the Minotaur would definitely be a helpful thing, but very scary guy. It basically means block doesn't do anything, which is probably the more relevant skill in this league. Also, wrestle, stand firm, all those fun, don't hurt me, don't move me out of position things is going to not be effective. Horns too, so 6 strength blitzer with Juggernaut and Claw and Frenzy. Or it doesn't have Claw, thought it did. But Frenzy and Mighty Blow and Juggernaut is a very scary thing for sure. And once again, forgot to take that down. But yeah, definitely in good shape. A little sad that his level 2 Chaos Warrior went down, but he's slowly going to recover that. Looks like he's got some SVP on one of them from an injury. And I'll just be developing upwards. And really, having more points than your Beastmen isn't the end of the world, since they can move the ball better then. But we'll see how it goes. I still think this team is in kind of a weak position overall, since rerolls. But, maybe they'll work out. He did well this week. He only barely lost, basically. He could have walked away with a tie at least. So, and we'll see how he does in the weeks ahead. If we look at the next game here, which is Dwarfs versus the Lizardmen team, I don't have a ton of information about this match. Let's quick jump over to the match record chart. The Lizardmen team obviously won. Ended up with 20,000, so I don't know if he just had horrible luck on his reroll or he didn't reroll. Either way, bad luck on the dice. That's no fun. 6 injuries is a lot, though. That is a lot to sustain, 2 of which were deaths. So, I mean, I don't know exactly what happened here. My general information I got from some of the people who are better friends with them was just that there was a lot of injuries on both sides, and the Lizardmen team managed to get the ball in right at the last second, which kind of to be expected with the way skinks work. However, with the way skinks work, it is also not surprising to see so many injuries from the dwarf team. The dwarf team basically got to live my dream of punching skinks all over the place, and did very, very well for themselves, it seems. The tackle skill probably had something to do with that. Nullifying dodge in all of its forms definitely makes the skinks a lot more fragile. It just overall makes them much harder to deal with. So I'm not surprised that the dwarf team put a lot of hurt, but at the end of the day, it looks like the lizard team was able to run it down just a little bit harder. If we take a look at their team roster, looks like a Saurus bit the death here, which is definitely rough. Strength 4, armor value 9 means they're pretty hard to take out, and take out they unfortunately did. I think he had some injuries too, didn't he? No injuries given out, so it looks like he didn't get any points from that. It looks like it was just from a touchdown and then MVPs. This skink got MVP, it looks like, so we'll see what he decides to develop for him. A lot of options for what he could do with more ball handling, just more positional play stuff. I mean, stunting dodge already makes him very mobile, so we'll see what he decides to do. He's got a lot of choices. Basically, if he rolls them doubles or things like that, it could definitely change how the skink develops. They're very flexible players, and they're very cheap. Well, relatively cheap, which will definitely help make them noticeable. However, next week he is going to be going in with a fill-in skink, 20,000, just not enough to buy another Saurus this time, unfortunately. We'll see. I don't know if he bought another Saurus at the end of last week. I would assume he did, based on he had 80,000, I think. So, yeah, definitely a rough turn. Looks like a miss next game for this Saurus as well. So he's definitely going to be looking at some weaker stats overall. If we take a look at the dwarf team, where are we here? Here we go. Huff. Take a look at the dwarf team. Walked away with 70,000, which is sort of like insult to injury. Walked away with a ton of cash for that loss. And let's see here. We've got some injury points kind of across the board. Looks like a blocker got a bunch of SPP, so that would kind of line up with the idea that tackle did a lot. Guard, an absolutely... let's get rid of this again. Guard, an absolutely great skill to pick up on these guys. Definitely a good call. Makes the blockers stronger overall. Makes everything else a little bit better. Break up the positioning. Nope, don't want to do that. Break the positioning a little bit here. Organize by position. Still 1 Troll Slayer. 2 runners. The full complement of blockers, which is gross, to say the least. And 2 blitzers. So 130... He's got a lot of choices. I think another reroll at this point, probably the way to go. 3 rerolls makes the dwarf team much stabler, much more likely to pick up the ball. He could also buy another Troll Slayer, which is something I've been harping on. But honestly, at 130, I think another reroll is in order. You might as well. You're already there. And 3 rerolls would definitely make this team a lot more intimidating than it is already. No big changes aside from guard, which just makes the blockers a lot stronger. Overall, that network of blockers that you want to build up with the dwarf team. Yeah, I guess who knows what will happen. From what I've seen and what I understand, he's definitely the lowest knowledge about the game as a whole, so who knows if the guard will just let him be more aggressive and more forgiving. We'll see. It's definitely a good spot for this team to be in. He's got not a lot to complain about whatsoever. All right, if we move on to the next week of the match, the next match of the week, we're looking at looks like, where are we here? Here we go. We're looking at the Undead versus the Amazon team. Amazon team managed to win this one. And match record chart. Amazon's walked away with 30,000. Again, might have just been bad luck on the dice, which is kind of the consistency from what I'm seeing from a lot of our winning teams in this league. But as you can see, 2-1 did the Amazon thing. It looks like ran the ball a whole lot, passed the ball a teeny amount, just managed to get it in. I'm guessing that the Undead team just got the ball in thanks to just slowly trudging it in from looks like a very short kickoff, so who knows what happened there. Might have actually been a grab the ball away from him and walked it in that way. Hard to say. 4 tackles, which, Amazon's trying to dodge more. Not the end of the world to see that. 3 casualties inflicted. The Amazon team actually putting in a lot of damage as well. 1 casualty and a death. So that's pretty great for the Amazon team. Not so great to have the giant blocking image up, but whatever. If we look at the team roster after this pretty solid victory, the wear and tear is definitely apparent here. An injury with a smashed hip, which is this one? Losing a point in movement allowance. I think that was from before, actually, but missed next game one way or the other. And a smashed ankle, which is another loss in movement allowance. Hurts the Amazon team a little bit, since that's kind of their deal, basically, especially the catcher. You want them to be as quick as possible. We got sure hands on this catcher, which is great. Fend on this catcher, which will definitely help keep both of these guys alive, or definitely these ladies alive. Either way, good calls on the skill pickups. I think definitely a good way to go. This will help get the ball there, and if the ball gets into this guy's hands, should be just fine. Still, with 2 injuries on, 1 core player, it's going to be pretty tricky for the Amazon player moving forward. I think saving up for another blitzer is probably going to be a good call, especially because this one may want to just replace pretty soon anyway with the 2 strength. Not a lot of utility provided by this, aside from block and dodge, which is good, but 2 strength, 7 armor value, it's asking for trouble. These are skink stats with just a little more defensibility from the skills. At 50,000 though, I think, could buy another line woman, but I think saving up for a better positional player is probably the better choice at this point. You're going to have mercenaries next week anyway. You might as well just embrace it and keep going. Hopefully they don't get the MVP award, but things happen. So let's look at the other half of that equation, which was, here we go, Laughter Life. $30,000 for him as well. When we come over the stats for this, let's see who the death was. Looks like the death was on a white. Kind of surprised that would have been a ghoul. It looks like he did pick up. But anyway, the white was the one to take the death, which is pretty surprising. Block and regeneration means that it's pretty hard to kill them. Maybe it was a zombie or skeleton. I'm not 100% sure. Either way, he has barely got a full complement of roster. Looks like the zombie put in a lot of work. Got a lot of the points anyway. Got block on the zombie, which will make this effectively a slow lineman a little more effective. The mummy looks like got an MVP and an injury, so got guard on the mummy. Good call. Makes that mummy little group a little stronger. What does he have? 80,000. So at this point, might be better to save off for another white. I think he could get another ghoul too, but I think 3 is probably a good number for now, since these guys are just going to be your ball handlers primarily. And high movement positional players, I guess. But another white would help a lot. He's got 3 rerolls, so I don't think he needs too many more of those for now. But I wouldn't waste any money on further linemen at this point. I think just save up for a white. He's gonna get it next week for sure. So that'd definitely be a helpful thing. Yeah. So beyond that, levels up, good deal. Not too unexpected with all the injuries in that game. And the last game of the week is, well, my game, but we're looking at these folks here. Nope. Looking at, cannot find what I'm looking for. Oh, totally skipped over this one for some reason. Andrew's team was the loser, actually, so we'll look at him last. But the Blocking Dead were the ones who walked away with this one. Barely. Close game, for sure. A ton of injuries, as you can see, on both sides. KOs, injuries, just nuts dice in terms of all those armor values get broken. Andrew definitely bore the brunt of the injury and death train. Saw a ton of red dice. Didn't get too lucky on his rolls. Necro got a little luckier. They managed to score midway through the second half. I would say due to some maybe questionable choices, but he got in on a 2 go for it run, so who knows? It could have gone better if he had failed one of those go for it's. Yeah, luck is sometimes a big factor here. Necro got some pretty good dodge rolls in there as well, but basically just comes down to Andrew wasn't able to push through and get his touchdowns, and the Necro team was. Look at the roster. 120,000 at this point. I think another flesh column, if I'm not mistaken. I think those are a 2-spot number. Either way, Zombie's out with a smashed hip, lose point movement allowance. So this player probably is going to be the first one to go when he wants to clear things out. He's not going to be next game anyway, but this player is almost not worth fielding at this point. The Zombie still has a serious concussion, which reduces armor value. Levels up. Looks like the Ghoul got MVP and an injury, so he got tackle, which is pretty solid for the Ghoul, although I would have preferred to see something like, I don't know, block, just to make him a better ball carrier, but I don't think he's using his Ghouls in that form whatsoever, which is fine, I guess, but it would make him stronger overall. Sure hands also would be an okay thing. That's where we'll put a little, actually looks like it didn't level up too much or anything like that, so we'll see what happens for these guys. Yeah, this player though, oh man. He's going to have a full complement though, he's still got 12, 120,000. Like I said, could definitely look to buy another flesh golem, I think would be probably a good call, give him a little more strength in the line. Otherwise, another Ghoul wouldn't be too bad. He could definitely save up for another reroll as well. Getting 3 would definitely be helpful. So some things to consider there. And that's it for the games of the week. If we start taking a look at next week's preview, first game looks like it is Mark versus Andrew. I don't know. I think, let's take a look at the injury list again here, see what we're looking at. Mark's going to be down 2 players, but only one of them is what I would consider core or really that relevant. He's still got these very scary guys, a lot of ball moving. It's going to be rough. 1150 for his team value, so we'll see if that has any impact whatsoever. If we take a look at, where are we here? Oh, that was crazy. All right, sorry. Must have looked at the wrong week. So Mark's playing the dwarf team, I should say. I'm going to give this one to Mark. I'm going to look at the dwarf team just for completeness sake here, but I don't know, getting guard on this guy is going to make him a little more annoying, but overall, I still think Mark is going to be in a much better position. He's just got much better ball running. Even if this week's match goes like last week's match, I think Mark's going to be fine. He's going to be able to run the ball in enough to win the game. So I think Mark's going to win this one. Might walk away with some injuries, but I think he'll be just fine. Next game, it is the Laughterlife versus Andrew's team. Both these teams in kind of weird positions. Hard to say how this is going to go. I think definitely this is the more developed team. However, aside from dodge and block here and there, there's not a lot of power. The white getting taken out, probably one of the best things that can happen for Andrew. I mean, Mighty Blow, whatever. Andrew can run around these guys and avoid them. No problem. The white is kind of the only play that will give him a little bit of problem aside from this one zombie, which again can be mitigated with the 4 movement allowance. Looking at Andrew's team, this is where it gets a little concerning just because Andrew has so many gaping holes in his team. Corn Herald, missing next game. Ooh, smashed hip on this guy too. But anyway, Corn Herald being out is going to be annoying, but I think it's mitigatable, essentially. He still has 1, and he still has the Blood Letter Demons. He's got 2 of those now to handle the Horns Juggernaut power. Pitfire Calls be missing, it's no big deal. He'll have 2 stand-ins this week. Just put them on the line, let them get punched. It'll be fine. I think even with the disadvantage, I would put Andrew as the winner for this one. He's got an Apothecary to help with any major injury problems, and just overall, I think he's going to be in a little better spot. So it might be a close game, but I think Andrew has the better movement and better positioning ability over this team. Next team is Chaos versus Dark Elves. Chris has 2 linemen out. Whatever, this one has block, which is a little annoying, but overall, just 2 linemen. So his stand-ins are going to fill the same role, and he can definitely just throw them on the line to absorb all the punches while he runs in circles and does fun stuff like that. Take a look at the Chaos team. I mean, Chaos team doesn't have any disadvantages, but they don't really have any advantages either, and they're not going to have the money for inducements this week, so I think the lack of reroll, again, is going to be the big drag down. Yeah, the Juggernaut reduces the need for the rerolls for the Minotaur Blitz. However, Chris is so much faster, I think it's going to be a bigger advantage for him. Also, armor value 8 is good for the Assassin. Opens up a lot more opportunities to get the stabs in, so overall, I would say the Assassin definitely in a good place. I don't know. It might go the other way. Chris might get really unlucky, but I think the Dark Elves are going to win this week. If we look at the next game, it is me versus the Blocking Dead. I think I'm going to have a pretty big advantage here. Yeah, the werewolves are scary, but that's kind of the only thing I'm really that worried about. The whites I can work with / around. They're strength 3. And overall, these are just lower armor values than me, basically. I think will put me in a better position. If he tries to ball handle with these, I can definitely get rid of them. And he's going to be... Well, he's down a player, but barely so. I don't know. Like, the big scary guys are the Ghoul and I don't have dodge, so I don't care about tackle, and the Werewolf, who has the +1 strength. So I'm scared of these guys, but I think I can manage. I think I can manage dealing with them. We'll see. Things could go totally wrong. He could buy another Flesh Golem, and things could be scary, but I don't know. I feel like I can just put Rotters on the line, get my cage of Nurgle Warriors running, and use the Beast to tie people up, as always. Or get it in there and punch as needed be. But he's basically as slow as I am for the most part. His positional players are a little bit faster, but I think I can take care of them, essentially. And I think I can run the ball a little bit better and a little bit safer, even with the terrifying werewolf monstrosities. And the last game of the week will be Amazons versus Lizards. Both of these teams kind of works out pretty well that they're facing each other because they're both looking at a ton of injuries just going into this. Yeah, I mean, short 2 people here, team value 910. Lizardmen team value 790. Can be short 1 player or 2 players actually, so they'll be in similar situations. It's hard to say how this will go. The Skinks are very maneuverable, but the Amazons are in a good place to jump on them, make them sad. The Sauruses might make them sad, as the Cogsgore. It's going to be rough. I think I will say that the Lizardman team is probably going to lose, but it's going to be a close game. I think the Amazon team's ability to move the ball more effectively is going to be a bigger factor here, because the Amazon team realistically can move the ball with just about anybody. However, the Lizardman team is pretty much restricted to Skinks or lucky touchbacks. So I think that's going to be the bigger factor here. Fend is definitely going to be annoying as well. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a pretty brutal game. But like I said, it kind of lucked out that both these teams ended up facing against each other because they both have a ton of injuries this week. A couple things I wanted to do. League-wide statistics-wise, touch on the rankings a little bit so you can see that the match chart pretty still clumped up, but starting to stratify as I'm the only undefeated player. I'm at the top, and then got this pretty good core of people below, and then the lower half of the league is kind of all over the place. But this could easily turn around. I mean, this is still early on relatively in the league, so we'll see how that goes. The Hall of Fame is kind of a fun thing to look at. Most experienced player, kind of competing with 3 people here. Everyone's at level 2, so nothing too exciting there. Best scorer is this Werewolf with 3. I've got 3 touchdowns as well, and then kind of goes down from there. Yeah, still pretty narrow, but fun to see there. Let's go to best thrower. Unsurprisingly, Mark's human thrower is the best thrower with 4 passes, and everyone else is just kind of existing. Best interceptor, no interceptions. Not too surprising considering how hard interceptions are actually to pull off. Most violent players, most casualties inflicted. Still pretty low as the week is young, but 2 is becoming the big number. We'll probably see how that goes. Best runner goes to my max touchdown player, 106. Looks like who else we got here. Kind of surprising the number of non-Amazon teams running it in. I don't know if that's just due to the early missed week or what, but yeah, so starting to see some big separations in there in terms of how teams are going. If we look at the best thrower, which I thought we already did. Oh, best thrower in yards. Okay, so this is number of passes completed. This is number of yards thrown. Again, not too surprising. Mark's thrower is the best thrower. Looks like he averages about, so it's 4, so 11-ish yards a pass. Yeah, not too surprising overall. These guys, same thing. Everyone's staying within that +1 range for the most part. Pretty short passes for pretty much everybody else. Matches survive. Doesn't mean a whole lot because these are just not dead players. This might be a little more interesting later in the league. Best killer, 1, starting to get some numbers here. And then best receiver, not too surprising on the human team. We got a lot of throwing. And then looks like, Chaos team has 2 receptions, which is kind of weird. Good for that. It's a little strange. And then looks like it's a Dark Elf lineman, I believe, and then some 1s down the rest of the way. That wraps up this week. As always, thanks for listening. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.